There was only one place to start, where it all began, at the Vatican. By phone, Father Bruno set up a meeting with Monsignor De Luca and Father Moretti. I had been given permission to travel the next available day. The Fiat had been taken back to the Vatican, so I boarded the train that traveled a few hours south through the wine country from Florence to Rome. I caught the underground rail across Rome, then over the Tiber to the Vatican. With open arms and a wide smile, Father Moretti greeted me at the chamber door. Buon pomeriggio, Pastor Conley. His enthusiastic hug took me by surprise. And good afternoon, you, Father Moretti. Monsignor De Luca was also welcoming as he reached across the big oak desk to warmly shake my hand. Please sit here where we can talk. A nun quietly placed a silver tray holding a steaming crystal carafe and a set of earthen cups on a small table within the Monsignor's reach. In your impression, how is Father Bruno? He talks of fishing the clear streams about Abbey Monticello. He's changed. I think he's mellowed. Father Moretti paraphrased Acts, may he finish his course with joy, testifying the gospel in the grace of the Lord. De Luca asked, we have chamomile tea. Will you have a cup?
Si, grazie.
As Monsignor De Luca filled a cup of the golden liquid, he said, speaking of Father Bruno, our telephone conversation with him was short. He only told us that you had something to ask about the church. He wished us well, almost a farewell, then abruptly said goodbye. When first we met here at the Vatican, we were in one accord that my internship at Sant Ambrogio could lead to its revival. Now that's all changed. I have been told by the sisters Sant Ambrogio as a church will be abandoned. Is it true? Will it be open only to tourists? I came to hear it from you. Father Moretti glanced at Monsignor De Luca, sadly confirming, it is true. It felt like the bottom had fallen from my spirit. Is there anything can be done? I'm afraid no, young pastor. The power is out of our hands. But I'm sure you believe it when I say when one door is closed, the Holy Father will open another. There was a pause in the conversation while we sipped the soothing tea. Monsignor De Luca Moretti, there may still be a door that can be opened. Have you heard of a Captain Frederick Mueller? Curiously, Monsignor De Luca inquired, no, the name is. Not familiar. Do you know of this person, Father Moretti? It was my time to speak. We all know Father Lombardi had made a German friend. That man was there at the church on the night the bridges were destroyed. He was with the Gestapo and Father Lombardi when they fled north with the irreplaceable painting. That man was Captain Frederick Mueller. De Luca asked, this man, can he be your open door? Indulge my speculation for a moment. If Mueller survived the war, he would be in his 70s. If I can find him, it's possible that he could at least give us some information regarding the painting. Monsignor De Luca, seeing the opening, offered, the Vatican archives hold countless wonders. As it happens, military. Personnel records from many countries are kept in its vaults. Father Moretti can take you down beneath the subfloors below the basilica. In the archives, you may find the records you are looking for regarding this Captain Mueller. We will pray for your fruitful journey. Viaggio fruoloso. Father Moretti opened the door, entering the hall, said, follow me, Father Conley. I will open your eyes to the history of the world. We walked together through the adorned halls to a restricted elevator, where tourists' access was not allowed. As the elevator continued lower and lower, Moretti said, the archives are on this third level, but first, I want to take you down to the lowest places under St. Peter's, to the ancient catacombs. The catacombs! My palms were starting to sweat, and I was getting that uneasy feeling. My claustrophobia started to kick in at the thought of going still lower. Finally, we hit bottom, and the doors opened to a narrow, low cavern. We crept down past many early Christian graves in a damp, silent crypt. The only sound was a trickle of water dripping from somewhere in its depths. My fear of tight places was closing in, but making the sign of the cross to bolster my faith, I followed Father Moretti down an ever-narrowing shaft. Ultimately, we came to an excavation site. Look here, he whispered, carved into the stone, a cross that is upside down. In a small place below the inverted cross were half-uncovered bones. Here in Latin the name, Peter the Apostle. My fears of tight places quickly evaporated at the sight of the tomb. He told me more. It is believed that this is the very spot St. Peter was crucified over 2,000 years ago. The Pope's church was built on top of it. Our Savior Jesus Christ truly made Peter the rock, the foundation of his church. After praying in the catacombs, we decided to walk up the old stone stairways to the archives. An attending pastor located the section where German army records were stored. Father Moretti wished me luck and headed toward the elevator. The following days were consumed with poring over boxes of German military records, which served to only confirm that Müller was a very common name. I resolutely settled into my work. In 1944, there were over 200 Friedrich Müllers in the Wehrmacht. Hours dragged by. Doggedly searching paper records and microfilm, I found only one Captain Friedrich Müller who served in Italy. To my surprise, he was not Gestapo. He was with the Foreign Office. His last known residence was in Heidelberg. At the first opportunity, Monsignor De Luca lent me the same old Fiat 500, the one without a working speedometer or horn. I began the treacherous journey over the Alps, headed to Heidelberg, Germany, in winter. That night, an ominous, dark, frigid storm blanketed the way over the Italian Alps. A radio announcer warned that an avalanche had blocked the autostrada to Switzerland and advised travelers to take shelter till morning. The radio crackled for the last time before moving out of range, wondering if the little Fiat could get over the old pilgrim road. My mission and sure heart compelled me, perhaps foolishly, to take the way up to the monastery of St. Benedict. The road to the summit was getting colder. The old Fiat was not the safest way to get through a snowstorm. At least it had a nice, warm heater. Soft snow swirled, causing ice to freeze on the windshield. Looming high peaks were now masked in darkness. The car puttered through a howling winter wind, dim headlights lamping the icy road only a few feet ahead. As the little car climbed to an elevation of 8,000 feet, I remembered a single sign an hour past reading, Petrol Stazione. There had been no gas for at least 40 kilometers. Then, by the grace of God, as the wind battering the steamed-up windshield, a light appeared in the mist, and my spirit gladdened. Glancing nervously at the gas gauge with less than a quarter tank remaining, I planned to top off the tank to make it all the way up to the monastery. To my dismay, the car rolled off the road into a closed, deserted station. No gas. I had to get my bearings, so I apprehensively pulled the flashlight and map out of the glove compartment. According to the map, St. Benedict was at 9,000 feet in elevation, or 27,000 meters. I scribbled the math on the edge of the map, 3,000 meters higher and 40 kilometers to go. At that point, there was no turning back. Slipping the small wheels into gear, my little heated sanctuary continued farther up the frozen highway. Thoughts swirled in my mind like the snow swirled on the road. What about Captain Müller? Would he have any clue what happened to the painting? He'd be an old man by now, if he's still alive. How long could a man live carrying that sort of burden? Would I find him in Heidelberg, or would that be the end of my journey? Under the drone of the engine, old memories drifted back to pleasant days in Maine, sitting around a campfire. At dusk, when the sky turned gray, brushed by streaks of crimson clouds, birds signaled the coming of night. When the last glow of sunset fades beneath mountain peaks, we'd light our campfire and call it magic hour. Dad taught me to always bring a thermos filled with hot coffee or chocolate on our ice fishing trips. I had come prepared for the snow on the Alps with a heavy hooded jacket, thermal underwear, and a thermos filled with Cafe Americana. So, as my recollections drifted back to magic hour in Maine, the car drifted to the edge of the roadway, slowly sliding sideways toward the abyss below a mountain cliff, far above an icy river. A hard layer of ice coated the highway, so slamming on the brakes might put the car into a slide and over the edge. The only thing to do was to stick the car into neutral and keep my foot off the brake. At the cliff's edge, the passenger side tires bounced off a low asphalt berm, surely preventing disaster, and the car rolled neatly to a slow stop. I hung my head on the steering wheel and scolded myself. Should have waited until the storm passed. Don't want to have to explain to Monsignor De Luca that somewhere in the Alps the car was stuck in a snowbank or worse. Just keep it on the road. Shifting it back into gear, the engine idled slowly through icy snow and fog. It moved away from the ledge and continued the climb toward the summit. It nudged around curve after curve, switchback after switchback. I stopped now and then to wipe the fog off the windshield with an extra undershirt. I could only guess if there was enough petrol left to make the summit. There were no lights or signs ahead, nothing to give a clue how much farther to the monastery. Freezing wind swayed ghostly white pines all around. The gas gauge was already bouncing off empty. The little engine was running out of fumes.